A man of average attractiveness has to swipe right 200 times to get one coffee, and then 4 of those 5 coffees will ghost him.
The male loneliness epidemic discussion is hilarious, honestly, because if there are a bunch of lonely men out there romantically, that means there are a bunch of romantically lonely women out there too. But for some reason, we're only discussing the men. For a bunch of people who have been screaming about going their own way and being alphas for years now, I'm like surprised that the men are not happy being lonely. Hasn't this basically always been your grand plan? Like, y'all don't want to be tied down. Y'all don't want to get married. Y'all want to party with your boys until the day that you unalive. Like, in fact, it seems to me like men have gotten what they wanted. Like, nobody's trying to tie y'all down. Nobody's trying to tell y'all what to do. Nobody is trying to like control your life or get you to spend any money on them. Like, what are you unhappy about? Why would these men be unhappy? But since I guess we're all genuinely wondering, let's break it down from this video.
A man of average attractiveness.
So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video right there to begin with. A man of average attractiveness is not putting nearly as much effort into his appearance as a woman of quote unquote average attractiveness. A man of average attractiveness does not have a skincare routine, does not have a hair care routine, washes everything with a 3-in-1 body wash, or better yet, some like Dawn soap that he has stashed in his moldy ass bathroom. Probably can't even dress himself correctly. Let's just start out on the fact that a man of average attractiveness, we need to raise that standard. Okay, because men are not the only ones bringing money to the table now. These days, it's like it's the men that's not bringing enough to the table. Like, a man of average attractiveness needs a woman to tell him how to dress, do his hair, what kind of facial hair to have, like all these kinds of things, because they don't take an interest in it themselves. Why would a woman who knows how to put an outfit together be like enamored by a man of average attractiveness? The average attractiveness standard for men is much, much, much lower than it is for women. So right then and there, you're already starting off on like unequal footing with women.
Has to swipe right 200 times to get one coffee, and then 4 of those 5 coffees will ghost him.
So I want y'all to notice, we're stopping here for 2 different reasons, but the first one I want you to notice is that this man, who is seemingly like educated and well-spoken and everything, can't help but to give himself away as well as the exact type of incel that he's talking about. Because how are you going to say an average man has to swipe 200 times just to get a coffee? First of all, it's not a coffee, it's a date with a woman, a human being, okay? So you thinking of it in these terms like, oh, it's a coffee and you swipe right 200 times, like you're just as statistical and calculated as these other men. Not to mention, they lower their own chances of matching with somebody because they're swiping right on everybody. And then the women who actually do the emotional labor of like reading people's profiles and like making sure that they have like matching interests and stuff like that, go and do that, and they're like, why the fuck would this guy match me? We have nothing in common. He wants kids and I don't, etc., etc. So it's like you're ruining your own potential pool of like people you could actually connect with, because as a man, you're swiping right 200 times because it's a numbers game to you. And then you get one coffee out of those, and mind you, you think of it as a coffee and not as a date with a human woman, a human person, to get to know them. Secondly, a coffee is not a date. So like these men's problem might just be they're asking women out for coffee. So if you're asking out another dude, that's perfectly fine. A coffee date will suffice because both you and that dude are likely just going to roll off the couch, like grab your car keys and head out to the date. Okay? But the way that you're going to expect a woman to show up to a coffee date, even if you pay for her coffee, it's a negative investment to her. So something that is a low investment strategy for men, you're asking actually more in return from the woman time-wise. Even just the time that it takes a woman to get ready, even just for a coffee date, is going to be longer. Depending on how you value your time, it's like, no, I'm not going to spend like an hour or even 30 minutes or even 15 minutes getting ready for a coffee date where the amount of product I'm going to use is more expensive than the quote unquote coffee he's treating me to. It's just insulting. Like, if you want a woman to like get all dolled up and like ready for you and you want to take her out romantically, you have like an invested romantic interest in this woman, you should definitely not be inviting her out to a coffee. That's why these women ghost you, because it's very clear that you don't take them seriously.
You can't tell women to lower their expectations, but this is the reality. When you ask a man if you could have a woman who had 80% of everything you wanted, 75% say, yeah, I'm on board. When you say to a woman, a man has 80% of what you want, 75% say that's not enough.
I'm not saying women should settle. Then what are you saying? Let's break that down, because the expectations of men and women in relationships are wildly, vastly different. And it would actually make sense that men would be the ones to settle. It makes a lot of sense that men would settle, because everything that women have to offer in relationships is something that has now been valued by the market as very expensive. The daily labor of upkeeping a household, which most men expect most women to do. Cooking, cleaning, decorating, all of those are like daily, annoying, time-consuming tasks. They're getting cold, hard labor as a bare minimum. Like, you're not even wifey or girlfriend material if you don't know how to cook, clean, and keep a house. On top of that, most of these men will expect you to use your body to give birth to their child, possibly breastfeed it, raise it, all that stuff, quit your job, stay home and do that, or consider your income to be the one, quote unquote, paying for childcare, paying for daycare. They unironically expect all of this. Not to mention, they expect most women to be a complete corn star in bed, or learn, or be willing to have schmexual acts performed on you that don't bring you pleasure as a favor to that man, and will expect you to stay in like really good shape throughout your marriage. Otherwise, they'll complain that you let yourself go and got fat, even if those are like the very common side effects of having given birth. Our bodies as women sometimes change after giving birth. Men don't care about that. They expect that from you. Men will expect you to be, mature, emotionally regulated, responsible, all that stuff. So then, yeah, of course, it makes sense. You tell a man a woman has 80% of that, I'd be fucking jumping up and down too, to quote unquote settle, right? But when we talk about what women expect from men, it's like be able to hold down a job and be able to keep up a conversation. Men are out here failing left and right on that. You say to a woman, oh, a man has 75% of what you want, it means something very different than when you tell a man a woman has 80% of what you want. Do not let this man gaslight you about your value, ladies. You are trained to be the perfect partner. From the time that you turn like 3 years old, somebody shoves a baby doll at you in a little play kitchen. Let's be fucking serious. Meanwhile, the boys are outside just smacking the ball around, smacking each other around. That's the kind of energy that they're going to bring into your relationship, and you're supposed to settle for somebody who only knows how to smack things around. Meanwhile, you know how to run an entire household, birth and raise an entire child. You know how to be mature and emotionally regulated and responsible. And you're supposed to accept less than the bare minimum from a man, which the bare minimum is have a job and be like slightly intelligent. Anything above that is extra for a man. If you don't believe me, think about how when fathers go out with their children, it's like an endless sea of compliments, right? Oh, what a good dad. Like, you're raising your kids right. It's a man is thoughtful towards his wife. It's like, oh God, I see what you've done for others. Like, it's uncommon for men to do above the bare minimum. Men are not even settling to begin with. For us to have a conversation about this on level ground, women would have to be just as useless as men. Then it wouldn't make sense for men to settle. It makes sense for men to settle now, because a woman is still going to be most likely a benefit to your life. At the very least, she is extremely unlikely to ever unalive or injure, actually threaten your well-being in any way as a man. As for women, not only are they expected to settle below the bare minimum, they're also expected to be okay with the very real risk and fear that your husband may one day just lose his shit and unalive you and hide your body in the fucking backyard. Or run off with a younger woman and never speak to you or your children again. Or the fact that the number one risk of unaliving for pregnant women is unaliving at the hands of their partner. So women are supposed to settle for that. Like, that's just another day in the life of being a woman. You're over here talking about 200 swipes and men trying to take women out for coffee. This is what men have to offer you in return for everything that they're going to expect you to do for them. Ladies, never fucking forget that. That's the key piece of this that this man is just glossing over. Women can do fine all by themselves. Women are the real alphas. Women are the ones that go their own way. The only thing that this male loneliness epidemic discourse is really proving is that men cannot survive without women, while the inverse is not true about women. Women actually fare a lot better without men, which is why they're not settling. And the reason that men are willing to settle is because they're the ones who need us. Women don't need to settle for anything because women are wholesome beings on their own. Right? They're even good at being lonely. They're better at being alphas than men. They're better at going their own way than men. This is what men hate. This is why they always start panicking whenever women have a little bit too much freedom. Because this is what it really means for them. It means desperation and extinction. Not to mention the man in the video answers his own question in the very same snippet.
One coffee. Now, what does that tell that guy? Women don't value me. Women make me feel rejected. And then they go online and they see these misogynists telling them it's not your fault. And these men become much more prone to misogynistic content, much more prone to nationalistic content, blaming other people for the lack of economic opportunity. They start sequestering from society. I worry that we are literally evolving a new species of asexual, asocial male. And if a man by the age of 30 hasn't either lived with someone or married someone, there's a 1 in 3 chance he's going to have a substance abuse problem.
He says that men who experience this rejection or this devaluing from women, the very next thing they do is turn to incel-led misogynistic online forums because those are the only people that are able to tell these men it's not your fault. It's these dumb, crazy bitches out here. They just want to reject you and they want you to feel like a beta, etc. When really, it's like women have also evolved to be able to smell losers like that. If you're over here swiping right 1,000 times just to get 5 coffee dates, first of all, you should reconsider your strategy of coffee dates, right? Because this man's big argument is that, oh, these poor men are out here thinking women don't value me, women don't value me. Sir, you're asking women out on a coffee date. How is that supposed to let them know that you value them? Like, what does that tell them about their value? You're only willing to like pay $7 and a woman has to spend like hours getting ready and like meeting you and potentially putting her life in danger, putting her reproductive system in danger. She's supposed to do all that just because she shouldn't want you to feel unvalued or rejected when all that you value her as is $7. That's fucking crazy. If this is really an economic value proposition, then just reconsider your strategy. Fucking coffees? You want people to value you, but the value you assign them is $7? Get the fuck out of here.
But even look at the media.
Right.
What does the media tell a woman to do? He's out. But he didn't open your door. He's not nice to his parent. Walk right out on that man. Like, it's literally every piece of media is you don't need him. You're a strong, independent woman. Pull the ripcord. You're out.
I also really hate how this man is like gaslighting women about having standards. If your standard is that a man should open the door for you, yes, you should leave if a man does not meet that standard. If your standard is that you want a man who has a good relationship with his parents because you plan to have children, you're going to need a village, you want a man who came from like a good, healthy family, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with wanting that. There's nothing wrong with knowing yourself well enough to know that you don't want somebody with things that you are not prepared to deal with or with things that will leave you wanting. And he's making it seem like women are really overreacting to these things. What sucks is that typically those men do go on to abuse and manipulate women in those relationships. Like that, those are really good signs that a man is probably not a good person. A lot of things too, like whether he is nice to waiters or service staff or whatever, all of those things matter and you should vet however you see fit. And in fact, you should have as many vetting strategies in place as it would make you feel comfortable to, because a lot of women will describe perfectly innocuous seeming men that will have turned out to be abusers, manipulators, SAers, predators, PDF files. All of these things have happened before and will happen again. The statistics are honestly pretty grim in that direction, seeing that 1 in 3 women has reported being SA'd. Like, just thinking about that, you should already be really, really careful with how you date as a woman. I don't see the point in gaslighting women about this. That's really messed up, actually. Men pose a very real danger to us. Once again, why the fuck does this always come back to women? Like I said in the beginning of the video, the fact that a bunch of lonely males exist means that a bunch of lonely females exist too. And what? Look at the women. They're not running into the arms of these nationalist, misogynist, it's okay to hurt men because they're not nice to you type of rhetoric. What does that say about who should settle for whom? Do you know what I mean? Like, what does that say about what you're realistically asking women to do? You're asking women to basically be the fragile barrier that holds these men back from the hateful rhetoric that they very clearly already want to espouse, right? Because if these men weren't already thinking like this, then red pill rhetoric would not appeal to them at all. But the truth is, they are thinking like this. And why are they thinking like this? Because we as a society promote misogyny as a concept, as a normal way of thinking. So we shouldn't be surprised that it's creating and breeding, quote unquote, these asexual males who are dropping out of life in general, because of course you're going to create that. Women have no reason to be with people who low-key don't respect them, and we women have evolved to be able to smell a loser from miles and miles away. So we can tell when a man is basically just one bad interaction with a woman away from becoming a full-blown incel. And guess what? Yeah, we are going to ghost him for the next coffee. Probably because he spent the entire time talking about his fucking self, making overly schmexual commentary towards us. All of these things do not appeal to women. And men cannot seem to figure any of this out because they, once again, they don't value us as human beings, including the man who is talking in the stitched video. The way that he talks about women, you can tell he does not care about us or like us or respect us as human beings, because he's more concerned with the men who are literally turning into asexual, amoral, hateful monsters, because he feels more sorry for them than the women that they are inflicting all of this upon. Because mind you, incels do not stay in their own little corners of the internet. They make group chats, 75,000 strong, about how they're going to rape and assault random unsuspecting women, not just the women that quote unquote rejected them, etc. So yeah, forgive us women for not really wanting to deal with nature's fucking rejects, okay? Because if you cannot exist on your own, if you cannot successfully, without utilizing and extracting the labor of a woman to work for you for free, to do all this stuff for you for free, and basically bring everything that you value and other men value to you on a platter. And the only thing you have to offer in return is that you, like the rest of us, go to work for 8 fucking hours a day, then you're shit out of luck, man, and I don't feel bad for you. You're not fit to mate. The people that you want to mate with are out of your league. And they're okay with that. They actually don't need to mate with you. They'll be better off if they don't. But you know who won't be better off? The loser in question. And that's why they're so mad. And that's why they got these other loser men out there feeling so bad for them and framing this as a male loneliness epidemic instead of a fucking incel epidemic, which is really what it is. Please stay safe out there, ladies. I love you so much. Godspeed.